There are many fair criticisms of Donald Trump's first Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. I made many of those criticisms when he was selected and when he was the Secretary of State. One would be Tillerson is a tool of the fossil fuel industrial complex. Undeniable. Another is that Tillerson had a disturbingly cozy relationship with Russian oligarchs through his work as CEO of ExxonMobil. Absolutely fair criticism. Tillerson lacked diplomatic experience. Absolutely true, although he still was way more of a diplomat than Donald Trump can ever hope to be. Tillerson's policies, his politics, are way too conservative for my taste. All of that stuff is true. All of those criticisms are more than 100% accurate, and we've made them on the program before. But in Tillerson's sort of defense, he did more or less realize the boundaries of his position and the boundaries of legality. And ultimately, he also became kind of unaligned with the Trump doctrine, and he ended up leaving, being insulted by Trump, the usual fiasco. We know that Tillerson doesn't think super highly of Donald Trump. He was caught calling him moron, I think it was, asked about it, didn't deny it. So he clearly doesn't have the highest opinion of Trump. But I have some interesting video from a recent interview that Tillerson did with CBS's Bob Schieffer. And he made it very clear what he thought of Trump. Again, being the diplomatic guy that he sort of is. Check out a little bit of the video, and then I'll tell you the really stunning part of this.
You describe Donald Trump.
Well, most of you probably know some of this, but I had never met Donald Trump until the day he asked me to be Secretary of State. He acts on his instincts. In some respects, that looks like impulsiveness, but it's not his intent to act on impulse. I think he really is trying to act on his instincts. It was challenging for me, coming from the disciplined, highly process-oriented ExxonMobil Corporation, to go to work for a man who is pretty undisciplined, doesn't like to read, doesn't read briefing reports, doesn't like to get into the details of a lot of things, but rather just kind of says, look, this is what I believe.
So you get the idea of where this is going. And then Tillerson dropped the bombshell. The most key thing that Tillerson said during this interview is that Donald Trump would regularly direct Rex Tillerson to do things that are illegal. Okay, he said, quote, so often the president would say, here's what I want to do, and here's how I want to do it. And I would have to say to him, Mr. President, I understand what you want to do, but you can't do it that way. It violates the law. So understand the picture that we are now able to build. Michael Cohen's sentencing memo from federal prosecutors on Friday, as I told you earlier, says Donald Trump directed Michael Cohen to commit felonies. This is part of a federal sentencing document at this point. Rex Tillerson is saying Donald Trump told me to do things that are illegal. Tillerson, in contrast to Michael Cohen, apparently didn't do those things. This is what Trump does. We now are hearing from totally unrelated sources. Michael Cohen via federal sentencing memo, his personal attorney, formerly, and then Donald Trump's Secretary of State, Rex Tillerson. They're saying the same thing, which is Trump directs people who work for him to do things that are illegal. Trump responding, obviously, by insulting Rex Tillerson on Twitter, saying Mike Pompeo is doing a great job. I'm very proud of him. His predecessor, Rex Tillerson, didn't have the mental capacity needed. He was dumb as a rock, and I couldn't get rid of him fast enough. He was lazy as hell. Now it is a whole new ball game, great spirit at state. In retrospect, Pat, wasn't Tillerson getting out when he did sort of a brilliant move?
I think so. This is all very hilarious. You have the president calling his former Secretary of State all of these words. I guess the most generous explanation to all of this is that Trump just didn't know any better. Like, he didn't know that the way he wanted to do things would be violating the law. And then once Tillerson responded by saying that, no, you can't actually do this way, this is illegal, he recanted. He decided to go some other path. But we know that's not really in his character. That's not how this thing happened.
I also tend to just disagree with Trump's characterization that Pompeo is much more mentally able than Rex Tillerson. From what I've seen, that doesn't actually appear to be the case. The next step, however, the most important thing here is we need to find out what illegal things Donald Trump directed Rex Tillerson to do, right? I spoke to a law school professor over the weekend and I asked her, can Rex Tillerson's statement in this interview that Trump directed him to do illegal things, can that be used to justify Mueller's team calling Rex Tillerson in to talk to them? She said, oh, I'd be shocked if Mueller hasn't already spoken to Rex Tillerson. Absolutely. This would justify speaking to Rex Tillerson about what he knows. It's going to be a sprint until the end of the year. I'm locked in and ready to watch.